There's a phrase that often gets thrown around in high-risk industries,
Hmm.
usually whispered after something goes wrong. Safety regulations are written in blood.
It's grim, but it's true. Almost every rule we have points back to a tragedy we're, trying not to repeat.
Exactly. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you hand someone a manual called Site Safety Protocols, their eyes just glaze over.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like bureaucracy.
It feels like just a bunch of boxes to check so the insurance company doesn't yell at you.
People see it as friction. It slows you down. It gets in the way of the real work.
But today, we're kind of flipping that script.
Okay.
We're looking at a set of documents, specifically the 10 golden rules of industrial and site safety.
Right.
And what's interesting, particularly how it's being used at places like ABM projects, is they aren't framing them as just rules. They call them life-saving principles.
And that rebranding is so crucial. We aren't talking about like a dress code policy here. We are analyzing an environment where the margin for error is basically zero. If you mess up a line of code, you can just delete it.
Right.
On a construction site, you don't get a Ctrl-Z.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And just for context, these rules we're diving into, they align with global standards like OSHA, but they also fit specifically into the Indian context under the BOCW Act.
Which is the Building and Other Construction Workers Act. It's a massive framework designed to protect millions of people.
So these aren't just suggestions.
No, they're the law. They're the standard.
So our mission for this deep dive is to peel back the layers. We want to understand the why behind the checklist. Why is 1.2 meters the magic number for a trench? Why is housekeeping a survival tactic?
It's about getting into that mindset of a zero-accident culture, shifting from I have to do this to I need to do this to survive the day.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning, the foundation. Before anyone even touches a tool, there's the preparation. Which brings us to rule number 1, PPE.
Personal protective equipment. The classic hard hat and vest.
Now, to most people, that just means putting on the uniform. But the source material makes it clear it's much more nuanced than just, slapping on a plastic helmet.
Oh, much more. In safety engineering, we talk about the hierarchy of controls.
Oh, yeah.
And PPE is actually the last line of defense. It's what you rely on when everything else has already failed.
So if that shield is weak, you're in real trouble.
You're in serious trouble. And the list is comprehensive. Safety shoes, high-vis vests.
Which I assume is so you don't just blend into the concrete and become invisible to a truck.
Exactly. Gloves, safety glasses, ear protection. But you picked up on something really important about working at heights.
Yeah, the full-body harness. That really stood out to me.
It's a critical distinction. In the old days, people might have used a simple belt around their waist. But think about the physics of a fall.
So if you fall and the rope catches you.
With just a belt, all of that kinetic energy is focused right on your waist. It can snap your spine or cause huge internal damage. A full-body harness distributes that force across your thighs, your chest, your shoulders. It turns a fatal snap into a survivable jolt.
It's the difference between being caught by a net and being caught by a wire noose.
That is a vivid image, but yes, that's accurate. And the rule is clear. It's not optional. You don't say, oh, I'm just going up for 5 minutes. I don't need it.
Because gravity works just as fast in 5 minutes as it does in 5 hours.
Precisely.
There's also a point in here about maintenance that I think people overlook. We sort of assume PPE is like a hammer. It lasts forever until you lose it.
That's a dangerous assumption. Hard hats actually have expiration dates.
Really?
Yeah, the UV from the sun weakens the plastic, makes it brittle. The rule says explicitly, inspect your PPE daily. If your boots have a hole, if your safety glasses are scratched up so you can't see clearly, they aren't safety gear anymore.
They're a liability.
They're a liability.
Okay, so you're suited up, you're protected. You step onto the site. This brings us to rule number 2. Follow all safety signs, barriers, and instructions.
This feels, incredibly basic. Why is this a golden rule?
Because of something called inattentional blindness. On a construction site, there's so much visual noise.
Right. Stuff moving everywhere.
Exactly. Moving parts, flashing lights, people. It is so easy for your brain to just filter out a static sign because it's not moving. The rule forces you to consciously acknowledge it.
And the text specifically calls out barricades.
Never remove them. That's the core directive. It sounds obvious, but, human nature leans towards efficiency.
Squeeze past. I'm quick.
Exactly. I'll just move the tape for a second. But that barricade might be hiding a hole in the floor you can't see from your angle. It might be marking the swing radius of a crane that's about to turn.
And the rule empowers the worker too, right? If a sign is missing, report it.
Don't guess. If the site isn't speaking to you clearly, that itself is a hazard. Speaking of the site environment, let's jump to rule number 4, housekeeping.
Keep the site clean, tidy, and organized.
I'll be honest, when I read housekeeping, I think of aesthetics, making the site look good. But these rules treat it as life or death.
It absolutely is, and here's why. Slips, trips, and falls are consistently one of the leading causes of injury in construction globally.
And we're not talking about tripping on a rug at home.
No. Think about the environment. You're carrying something heavy, you're wearing heavy boots. If you catch your foot on a loose wire or a pile of scrap nails, you're not just falling.
You're falling onto rebar or into machinery.
Correct. So a stray wire isn't just a mess, it's a trap waiting to be sprung. The rule demands daily removal of debris. It's about proactive accident prevention.
Okay, so the environment is prepped, the gear is on. Now we move into the process phase, the mental game. Which brings us to rule 3, the daily ritual.
The toolbox talk.
I love this idea. It's like a sports team huddle. But does it actually work? Or does it just become a drone of be safe out there?
If it becomes a drone, it's failed. The rules are clear. These talks have to be relevant to the day's specific tasks. It's a calibration.
So if you're pouring concrete, you talk about concrete burns.
Right, and the weight of the hose, the traffic of the mixer trucks, it forces everyone onto the same frequency before the chaos starts. And it mentions site induction for new people. You can't just throw rookie into the game without the playbook.
Right. But sometimes the work is more than just routine. It gets really dangerous. Which brings us to rule 7, the permit system.
Obtain and follow permits for high-risk activities. This is that bureaucratic hurdle you mentioned, but it's probably the single most important administrative control there is.
Control is a good word. It stops you from just acting on impulse.
A permit isn't just permission, it's a checklist for survival. You can't just decide to weld something because you feel like it.
Let's look at the list of activities here. We've got confined spaces, hot work like welding, electrical work, lifting operations. But I want to drill down on one detail. Excavation.
Yes. The rule says a permit is required for trenching deeper than 1.2 meters.
Why that number? 1.2 meters. That's barely 4 feet. Why is that the cutoff?
It's about the physics of soil. We underestimate dirt. A cubic meter of soil can weigh as much as a small car. Over a ton.
Wow.
If a trench that deep collapses, the amount of dirt hitting you instantly pins you. And it's not just about being stuck. The weight compresses your chest.
You can't breathe?
You can't expand your lungs. You can suffocate even if your head is above the dirt just from the pressure. So 1.2 meters is the threshold where a collapse goes from, I need help getting out, to, I might not survive this.
That is absolutely terrifying. And suddenly that piece of paper, the permit, doesn't seem so annoying.
It forces verification. Same with electrical work. The permit requires lock-out, tag-out. You don't just flip a switch. You physically lock the power source so no one can accidentally turn it back on while you're touching the wires.
It removes luck from the equation. Now, all these systems, the permits, the talks, they rely on the human brain being fully functional, which leads us to rule 9, no impairment.
Zero tolerance for alcohol and drugs. That's the headline. But I want to draw your attention to the environmental context here, particularly for India.
The heat.
Exactly. Heat stress. Impairment isn't just about substances, it's about physiology. When you're dehydrated or suffering from heat exhaustion, your cognitive function drops. Your reaction times slow down.
You start making bad decisions.
You do. So when the rules mandate rest breaks and hydration, it's not just about comfort, it's a safety control.
A worker who's dizzy from the heat operating a crane is just as dangerous as an intoxicated one.
Precisely. It's about being fit for duty in the broadest sense. If you're not 100%, you shouldn't be in the danger zone.
That's a powerful reframing. Okay, let's shift to the high adrenaline stuff. High-risk operations, gravity and heavy machinery.
The big two. Let's start with gravity. Rule number 5, working at height.
We touched on the harness, but the rule defines height at around 1.8 to 2 meters. Again, that doesn't seem very high. This is just over my head.
It's high enough to kill. A fall from 2 meters onto concrete can easily be fatal. The rule dictates a system. Guardrails first. If you can't have rails, you need scaffolding. And here's a detail. Scaffolding with tow boards.
That's the little lip at the bottom of the platform, right?
Right. And that's not for you. It's for the people below you. If you kick a wrench off a scaffold at 20 meters, that thing becomes a missile. The tow board stops that.
Simple but effective. The rule also mentions ladder safety. 3 points of contact.
2 hands, 1 foot. Or 2 feet, 1 hand. Always. Which effectively means you cannot carry tools in your hands while climbing.
You have to use a tool belt.
Or a rope. If your hands are full, you aren't safe.
Okay, let's talk heavy metal. Rule 6, machinery. No unauthorized operation.
This seems like common sense, but you'd be surprised. An excavator is sitting there. The operator is at lunch. A worker thinks, I just need to move that small pile. I drive a car, I could figure this out.
And disaster follows.
Almost always. The blind spots on these machines are huge. The rule is absolute. Only trained, authorized, and certified personnel touch the controls.
And even if you are certified, it mandates pre-use checks.
You walk around the machine, check the hydraulics, the alarms, and crucially, you never bypass the guards.
Those are the metal cages over the moving parts.
Yes, they are there to keep your fingers attached to your hands. Sometimes workers remove them to make maintenance faster. That is a cardinal sin in safety. Bypassing a guard is a direct, willful violation.
This leads perfectly into Rule 8, situational awareness. Be aware of surroundings and avoid line of fire. What does line of fire mean on a construction site?
It's one of the most valuable concepts you can learn. It means understanding the path of stored energy. If a cable snaps, where does it whip? If a load drops, where does it land? If you're standing in that path, you're in the line of fire.
So it's about predicting the worst-case scenario and standing somewhere else.
Exactly. The rule explicitly says, never stand under suspended loads. People do it all the time to guide the load. If that strap breaks, gravity wins every single time.
It also mentions swing zones.
Imagine an excavator rotating. The back of it swings out. If you're standing between the machine and a wall, you can be crushed. That's a pinch point. Situational awareness means knowing where those zones are.
And the rule includes something powerful, stop work authority.
This is the bridge to our final section, culture. Because you can have all these rules, but if a junior worker sees a supervisor standing under a load and is afraid to say stop, the rules are useless.
Which is rule number 10, reporting. Report all incidents, near misses, and hazards.
And the key phrase here in any modern safety program is no blame culture.
That is so hard to implement. The human instinct is to hide mistakes. If I tell them I almost dropped this, they'll fire me.
That's the fear, but you have to separate honest mistakes from willful violations. If a worker reports a near miss, say a hammer fell and missed someone by an inch, you can't punish them. You have to thank them.
Because that report is data.
It's priceless data. It tells you there's a systemic problem with how tools are secured at height. If you punish the reporter, they'll never tell you again. And next time the hammer hits someone, investigation must be about prevention, not retribution.
The source material also talks about how this is implemented on the ground. It's not just an email that goes to spam.
No, it has to be visible. Posters, signboards at entry points. It has to be in your face.
And there are daily inspections, safety audits.
You need a balance. You need the no blame for learning, but you need consequences for willful negligence. If someone refuses to wear a harness after being warned, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. And choices that endanger lives must have consequences.
The motto they use is, safety first, everyone goes home safe.
It's simple, but it anchors everything. The skyscraper isn't the end goal. Going home to your family is the goal.
So, pulling this all together, 10 rules. We've covered everything from shoes to permits to culture. What's the big takeaway for someone listening to this?
I think the insight is that safety is a system of layers, like a web. You have the physical layer, the PPE, the guardrails, you have the procedural layer, the permits, the toolbox talks, and then you have the cultural layer, the reporting, the stop work authority.
And if one layer fails?
The other layers are there to catch you. If you miss the hazard assessment, the guardrail is there. If the guardrail fails, your harness is there. But if you start stripping away those layers, skip the talk, ignore the sign, don't wear the harness, you're eventually just walking a tightrope without a net.
And whether you're a manager, a worker, or just a visitor, you're part of that system.
Absolutely. Gravity doesn't care about your job title. A falling brick doesn't check if you're the CEO.
It's been a fascinating look at this hidden discipline that keeps the world moving. It makes you look at a construction crane a little differently.
It's a silent discipline. When it works perfectly, nothing happens. That's the paradox of safety.
That leads me to a final thought I want to leave our listeners with. We talked about near misses.
Yes, and reporting them without blame.
I want you to really think about that concept. In movies, we celebrate the hero who saves the day at the last second, the person who cuts the blue wire.
Right.
But in safety, the biggest success is the silence of a non-event.
That's true. The accident that never happened.
If a near miss is reported today, a loose railing is fixed because someone spoke up, That small action might prevent a fatality 2 years from now. That future worker will never know their life was saved.
They'll just go home, eat dinner, completely unaware.
Exactly. Unaware they were saved by a report filed today. That silence, that's the success.
That's a profound way to look at it.
Thanks for diving deep with us today into the rules that keep the world building. Stay safe out there.
Stay safe.